Design and styling is one of the most important parts of a car. It can make a car faster, more aerodynamic, or ensure that it has the perfect balance of downforce. But we can't see that. So why is design so important? It's so important because it makes a brand's identity. It makes a brand iconic. A car with unique styling can turn it into a piece of art. The design of a car is nearly as important as anything else, from design to chassis. A buyer is less likely to buy a car that is ugly compared to one that is beautiful and well crafted. And when it comes to beautiful and well crafted cars, especially from Italy, there's one name that comes to mind: Pininfarina, the most iconic car designer in the world. They have had their hands on almost all iconic cars from the 1950s to 2000s, from the F40 Testarossa, Enzo, and some of the most elegant luxury cars ever made. But the only way to get a Pininfarina now is from Batista. So what went wrong? How did Pininfarina go from the leader and at the top of the world in car design to barely being able to work in design now? What went wrong? And is there a promising future for Pininfarina and all design houses in Italy? Pininfarina started in the 30s, but didn't get much success till after the Second World War. But at the beginning, Pin, the founder, prioritized aerodynamics. At this time, this was very revolutionary, because many people did not see this as important in car design. This gained Pin lots of popularity, and he started working for Alfa Romeo. Then in the 50s would later work with Lancia. Pin would go on to create the Cristea 202, which would be the first car to be put in a museum of art. By 1955, many of the prestigious Italian names from the pre-war era, such as Stabamenti and Ferrini, were gone. But when Pininfarina was so successful, why was this? Because even though that they switched to chassisless construction, which made for lighter, more efficient cars in the 50s, it also made tooling on low-volume derivatives like coupes and convertibles significantly more expensive. So companies like Pininfarina would help out. They wouldn't just create the design, but they would also produce the car. Outsourcing the design and production allowed Fiat, Lancia, and Alfa Romeo to offer sporting derivatives that their regular models, without investing additional production capacity. This became even more crucial in the second half of the 50s, as Italy began to enter an economic boom, which sent the demand for new cars through the roof. In the 1960s, Pininfarina was transformed into a small industrial empire. They would build car bodies by the thousands, but their success and stability would not just come from their ability to build cars, but also to create aerodynamic and appealing designs. Needing to be perceived at the cutting edge of the automotive design world, this was crucial for commissions to keep coming in, so wowing crowds at Turin, Paris, and Geneva was an integral part of their firm's business. Tragically, on the 3rd of April 1966, the founder of the company, Pin, died. Sergio, his son, took over, and understanding how important it was to create the best possible concept cars, they further developed their research facilities. It was now one of the best equipped in the car world, and was a research center occupying some 8,000 square meters. It employed 180 technicians, capable of producing 25 prototype cars each year. An important addition in the factory came in 1972, when the company unveiled a new wind tunnel. Very revolutionary technology for the time. At this point, Pininfarina was on the top of the car world, working with car companies from all corners of the world: Germany, Japan, the United States, and of course Italy. They shifted their business from making designs and manufacturing to just being a third-party designer. They created designs in all prototypes. They were on top of the design world, and it looked like they could not fall. But everything was about to change in the next few decades. Even though Pininfarina was one of the best designers, they were not the first to think about design. In fact, the first major car brand to think about design was GM when they created their art and color division. They worked in car design as well. Strangely and surprisingly, European car manufacturers didn't realize the importance of design until much later. If any car brand had it, they would mostly likely understaffed or lumped in with engineering, did not understand the role that it played in the car's success and the brand's success. And if there was a special or limited edition, they would just go to Pininfarina, who repeatedly delivered the freshest, most original proposals for designs. But the gray clouds were already on the horizon. The world of manufacturing had higher quality standards, and flexible production methods had already been implemented to make manufacturing more efficient. This made it possible for different cars to be made on the same production line. This brought the use of Pininfarina as a third-party manufacturer, and they rendered them completely unneeded. Nothing dug a hole in their pocket like a factory that was unused. So in the late 1990s, the once giant was struggling to make money through the design commissions. At the same time, at the turn of the millennium, design culture was much more widespread and worldwide as well. Automotive companies were now aware of the importance of design and wanted to keep a tighter control over it. Consequently, manufacturers invested heavily in their own design studios, and it often had multiple ones on different continents. With that, any incentive to involve a third-party design company was gone. And if they needed further reason to not involve them, those third-party companies were often working with their rivals. But even with these struggles, they were still hope for them in the time for the future. They could have had more success than they even did in the 60s, when they were going on top of the design world. They could have had, but they didn't, because at the new millennium they let off the gas. If they stayed on the gas in the 2000s, Pininfarina could have been better. But they made 16 cars, which were most of them were unsuccessful prototypes. This hails in comparison to the 31 designs and prototypes made in the 60s, and the 30 designs made in the 70s. Things only got worse in the 2010s, making it clear to see why the phone stopped ringing for them. This major mistake might have cost them their brand. You might have seen Pininfarina in the news recently for working with Batista on the new hypercar, or working on the Ferrari prototypes or other race cars. But these days, no cars coming from Italy are having Pininfarina badges on them. But nevertheless, there's no doubting the influence that Pininfarina had on car design. Bringing car design further ahead, being on the front of the crowd with technology and designing, but never not saving space for beauty and elegance that was given to all the cars that they designed.